Hey, folks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Doug with News and Views by Doug. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you're going to hear the same thing that I say in every video. This channel is where I give my observations and opinions on world events, politics, and pretty much anything else I feel like talking about. And I'm going to start off with something kind of strange. The World Cup is taking place here in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And the internet has just been inundated with people from all around the world, but mostly Europeans that have come to the United States and are just amazed. It's their first time here. And, their mainstream media talks a lot of trash about America, just bringing us down. And they are finding quite the opposite. And they're happy that they came. They're impressed with our stores, our restaurants. They are surprised by the kindness that the Americans are showing them and just enjoying themselves. So I thought, I'm seeing a lot of videos about them in America, but I hadn't seen any from Mexico or Canada. So I did an internet search and I didn't really find anything from Mexico. But the people that went to Canada, it's been quite the opposite effect. People are leaving videos that Canada, the big cities, are filthy, full of druggies on the streets and litter, like Los Angeles. And people are being ripped off. Their backpacks and other belongings are being stolen as quick as they can. And they're losing their passports and their money, and their cards are being used. And there's quite a few videos of people just absolutely in shock about how Canada is treating them. Well, I can tell you over the years, I've been to Canada several times, but never the big cities. I was always in the mid-sized cities or the smaller towns. And I can tell you that the Canadians were wonderful people, the ones that I met, kind, considerate, and welcoming. So I don't know if there's a difference between, let's say, Toronto, Montreal versus Sarnia or Winnipeg, smaller areas. But I just found it weird that there's so many videos about the hospitality and the way people are being treated and what they're finding in America versus the other two countries. So back to the Persian Gulf, which is always going to be in the news. The Iranians have basically walked away from the negotiations. And there's several reasons for it. Nobody knows who's really in charge of Iran. I mean, we pretty much figure it's the IRGC, which is the Iranian Republican Guard Corps. It's their military arm. And they have basically taken charge. I mean, they've got the guns. But there's a lot of infighting going on between their politicians and the military. And we're not talking about the Iranian army, we're talking about the IRGC. And so supposedly when the negotiators for Iran went to Switzerland, they were told by the Ayatollah, their supreme leader, who we don't even know if he's still alive. He hasn't been seen since the first day of the attacks. And when they did show him, they put a picture of him on a cardboard human figure. So we call him the cardboard Ayatollah. But supposedly he survived the attack, but no one seems to have seen him or knows where he is. So it's very well that there's a group of the IRGC and some other clerics that are basically pretending to be him and put word out. So the negotiating team was told, do not talk about the nuclear weapon developments. Do not talk about the Strait of Hormuz. And there's just certain red lines that they weren't supposed to cross. Well, they get to Switzerland, and I don't know why my nose keeps itching. Sorry about that, folks. But they were told not to talk about these things, and they get to Switzerland, and this is what the American negotiators are demanding that they talk about. So the Iranians crossed that red line that they were told not to cross, and they started discussing things and putting them on the table. And when they told the supreme leader that they crossed the line, he supposedly got pissed off. And the negotiations were cut off early. The Iranians came back to the table later that day, and then they walked away again. And as far as I know, there are no negotiations going on right now. Iran wants nuclear weapons. They don't want us telling them that the IRG or that the Iranians want nuclear weapons, and they don't want any inspectors coming in from the United Nations, and they don't want us telling them what they can and can't do. And then when it comes to the Straits of Hormuz, they basically said that they were going to have a toll, and that they were going to charge the ships going in and out of the straits a fee. And President Trump said, no, you're not. If anyone's going to have a toll, it's going to be the U.S. And it was announced today that Iran and Oman, which is across the strait, that they've come to an agreement to charge tolls, except they're going to call them service fees. And basically the service is not attacking them as they go through the straits. But the weird thing is that Oman is supposed to be a U.S. ally and has been for years. So we'll see what President Trump has to say about that. But he basically said that it wasn't going to happen. Then Iran is claiming that the U.S. has given them something like $30 billion just to start for reparations. That this money is the money that the U.S. froze and didn't allow Iran to gather. Well, now President Trump came up with a statement that if any money is sent to Iran, it's going to be put in escrow, and it's going to be for food and medicine. And that food and medicine will be purchased from the United States, the farmers and pharmaceuticals and things like that, so that the U.S. people make that money. So, there's a lot of statements going back and forth, and who knows what's really happening. Word's also coming out that the IRGC is executing people, and the numbers are going up. Now, it's already been claimed that 30 to 40,000 Iranians were killed by the IRGC in the days, months before the war started. And now the numbers are going higher, and they're just killing people left and right. So the people need to rise up and take control of their country. So we also have been told that Russia and China have been supplying the Iranians with weapons. Russia has sent attack helicopters, which you wonder if they still have any after the Ukrainians have just wiped out, most of the Russian equipment. But now they're saying China's supplying them with missiles and drones. Well, that F-15E that was shot down, a month and a half ago, and the pilot had to be rescued? They're now saying that it was some type of weird drones that brought down that fighter. And they were described as looking like jellyfish in the sky. In other words, a giant drone with smaller drones attached like tentacles hanging down below the large drone. And literally, it's been reported that they looked like jellyfish. And there were 2 or 3 of them in the air. They were flying in sync. And then next thing you know, the smaller drones brought down the plane. So, we don't know what's true. Now, India has been reported to be sending supersonic cruise missiles to the United Arab Emirates. And that's my pup. One of the 2. We adopted a new one. We had Hank, the German Shepherd, and now we have Ellie, the Golden Retriever. And they occasionally make noise and even move the camera sometimes. So India is supplying these supersonic cruise missiles to the UAE for their defense against Iran, because Iran has attacked their neighbors. They've been attacking Kuwait, Bahrain, even Oman, and the UAE. So, the war just seems to be escalating. Now, there's also word coming out, India was supposed to be sending ships towards the Gulf. And word has come out that Pakistan, which is a sworn enemy of India, that they bought a Chinese submarine. And the submarine apparently is capable of carrying nuclear weapons. And Pakistan and India both have nuclear weapons. Well, they supposedly are sending the sub into the Bay of Bengal, which is Indian water. And they've bought 8 of these submarines, and they were delivered their first ones. Now, India and Pakistan have already had some border skirmishes this year, and usually it's in the Kashmir area. But also, there's reports coming out that China and Bangladesh are going to be allies. And we know that there's always been clashes between the Chinese and the Indians, also in the Kashmir region. So is India going to get pulled into a war with Pakistan, China? Are they going to be in the Persian Gulf and helping to defend the Persian Gulf states? Is this war over? I don't think it is. In Israel, Netanyahu, the prime minister, has basically said, if you see a terrorist, Hamas or Hezbollah, open fire. You don't need permission. Shoot him and kill him. He's tired of this. And of course, they weren't invited to the peace talks. And, the U.S. has been telling them what they can and can't do. And Israel's like, screw you. We're going to do what we have to do to defend ourselves. So, hey, at least we still have the World Cup, huh? The world's going to hell in a handbasket. I don't think it's ever been this bad with so many conflicts taking place. So since I mentioned that the world's going to hell in a handbasket, I almost forgot to mention that yesterday the Russians bombed a Turkish cargo ship, civilian ship, heavily damaging it, and this happened in the Black Sea. And at least one of the sailors was killed. We know definitely there's more that was injured and maybe killed. And Russia has not explained why they attacked this cargo ship. Turkey's not involved in the war between Ukraine and Russia. So anyways, folks, that's it. A lot of things going on. I will leave you with a quote. I decided to start leaving quotes from famous people every day towards the end of these videos. Thomas Jefferson, who was also a founding father and wrote a lot of the Declaration of Independence. Our liberty depends on the freedom of the press, and that cannot be limited without being lost. Well, the only problem with that is our mainstream media, they are very prejudiced, and they don't seem to want to tell the truth a lot of the times. As a former member of the media, the one thing I did in my news stories is I never gave opinions. I simply shot the scene, interviewed the authorities and any witnesses, and left it at that, with no opinion given. And that's the way the news is supposed to be reported. Telling the truth. Okay, folks, it's the end of the day. I hope you stay safe out there. Keep an eye on your family and friends. If you see something, say something, and just be safe. Folks, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I'd love to know what your opinion is. And I wish you peace. God bless you. God bless America. You take care.